especially the challenges for a very global organization like TÜV Süd? Is it digital transformation, or what exactly is it what keeps you awake at night?
Mm. Well, at the moment, of course, especially the geopolitical developments that are taking place. TÜV Süd is present in 52 countries around the globe with different size of footprint, of course, but nevertheless, there are changes in supply chains that are likely to happen with new politics taking place, especially over the next 1, 2, 3 years, at least it's expected like that. So that's one topic. And then the one that I think we share with everybody else on the globe as well is finding experts for the different fields that we are active in. And there it's the same topic. We are present in a lot of countries, and that enables us to source talents from many, many different countries. But at the same time, we also need to change our way of working. So we have much more international teams. We have more use of international and remote collaborations and teamworks compared to in the history more one solution, one team on site to serve a product, and that is changing. So that's cultural aspect, and that's also a different way of working together.
Thank you. So moving a little bit from, let's say, what the firm as a whole is doing, more to you personally. How do you personally approach these challenges, and what do you believe distinguishes an effective leader from a less effective leader in these demanding times?
I think thinking much more global in terms of where are resources or new technologies that you can use in order to conduct products in a more modern way, to have different ways of cooperation between teams. That's very vital. If you think in more traditional local setups, your possibilities to act are very much limited in these days. And that is something that is due to new technologies getting easier on the one hand. On the other hand, it's also requiring more speed. So the technical evolutions that are in the background in order to make use of that are speeding up tremendously. And culture changes, of course, at the same time take time. So as a leader, I spend a lot of time elaborating on that, speaking about these topics, and that people need to look at new ways of collaboration. And that doesn't happen just by itself. You need to talk about it. And of course, you also need to put people into positions that foster this, that have this mindset. And I think that's more vital than it was when I started my career earlier on, maybe 10, 15 years ago in the top leadership positions.
The most recent version of our report, Route to the Top, highlights the increasing importance for leaders of adapting in a rapidly changing environment. What capabilities are most important to help leaders respond to change effectively?
I still think there was a time when I felt that there was a lack of leadership in the real sense of the meaning. And that is coming back a little bit now, because it especially needs thought leadership to have a certain direction that you put out there, that you write down, so that it gives orientation to the entire management team, and then also enforce, so that people, especially in an international setup, know, even though maybe headquarters is a couple of thousand kilometers away, it's still one company. And to put this culture as a group culture into place is something that takes a lot of effort, and needs also an alignment in the international leadership team. And that is something I think that changed a lot. And the requirement of this international and one culture is increasing compared to maybe local cultures that we had 10, 15, 20 years ago. And that is something that we also in our leadership programs need to implement, so that people are aware of it, that they have networks within the company that foster this. And this is something that is more and more important for the future from my perspective.
It's interesting. I just remember when I was in an HR role in another firm that was with Siemens. One of our biggest challenges was to have an effective succession planning, especially on a global basis. So, um, and that's exactly what our research also finds out, that there's a growing emphasis on executive succession planning. How do you cope within TÜV Süd with developing the next generation of leaders, especially in this global environment you are acting in?
Yeah, that's exactly the way. So we have international development programs where we bring people together from all around the world in different levels also, and especially different countries and environments, and also have cross positioning. So we have a lot of people from the Asian region working in Germany and the other way around. And then we swap them over different divisions and countries so that there is an awareness of the wide range of cultures within the company, of course, also content. I still think that also a relation to content, so regarding to your first question, of managers to what they are leading, which people they are leading, this combination, that's really important, because this purpose question is becoming more and more important. And so leadership, and at the same time interest of leaders in the content, is something that I think is vital for a successful career, and especially also to retain people. To get people on board is one thing, but to retain them is also a crucial part. And therefore, people that are leading these groups and that are interested in the content of what the employees are doing, I think is really vital in order also to retain people then.
So then let's move to another topic, more the interaction between you as a management board with the supervisory board. I mean, here in Germany, we have the two-tier boards. I know that you're also very closely working with your supervisory board and the chairman. So what role do you believe do boards, I mean, supervisory boards, play in shaping leadership strategies nowadays? Is that a sparring partner for you, or how do you see the interaction with the supervisory board?
There has been a strong development over the last 10 years, I would say. So from really that there was only a kind of reporting 10, 15 years back. And now we have a much more higher frequency involvement in discussions, also not only presenting the final results of an evaluation, but also that there is a kind of sparring and exchange of experiences on the way to lead to that result, especially strategy discussion, of course. So in our supervisory board, we have experts from different industries, and so there are a lot of aspects, questions that are coming in during the strategy process, also bigger tenders sometimes. People have experiences in countries or with certain customers. And this involvement has increased a lot. So the stakeholder management, the time that we spend together is tremendously more than it was 10 years ago when I had my first CEO role. And I think that is something that is also important to not overlook something in the increasing complexity of the environment we are acting in. And at the same time, also then have an aligned target setting, so that the volatility of changing directions just because one person from a board or from a supervisory board is changing is going down, because there is a strong alignment between these groups, the supervisory board on the one hand, the board of management on the other hand, and that has developed a lot.
One of the priorities, although there has been some progress, but especially here in Germany, is the diversity, fostering diversity and diverse leadership within TÜV Süd. What are you doing in this respect within TÜV Süd since you have taken over this role?
Well, we are a very technical driven, very academic driven company. And we have a target there of, in that case, gender diversity, 30% female in leadership positions. We are somewhere in the mid of 26%. So I think that's not bad, but it's also, if you look at the size of the company with close to 30,000 employees, and of course also a lot of leadership roles, the last 3.5% is still a lot to do and to take care of. And so we are having, of course, certain networks where people can exchange across countries, across certain expertise areas, and of course also gender-related topics, where we have the possibility to have an exchange on experiences. And then we have a connection with HR, with me being the HR director, also, so that we can learn from these topics. Where do we need to change something in order to foster further growth in these areas? And at the end of the day, it's also my job to do my share of it. So since the last 2 years, give or take, I think I hired 8 or 9 new management positions, and there is only one guy. All the others are female, great female, and so this is something where also I think leading by example plays an important role. And if then the colleagues see the expertise our colleagues there bring to the table, the ladies bring to the table, then that forces, of course, also to copy it and to work together with them. I think just talking about it and not acting on by yourself on it doesn't do the trick. But if you do so, that's also seen and recognized in the company. It helps to attract new employees. And then, of course, to not get this rolling. But it's a very active thing. And especially in the technical field, it's hard because we have sometimes in the university 1, 2, 3% that are female. So this is not an easy task. And I think that's an uphill battle also for the future.
Let's stay for another question in the boardroom, and I mean supervisory boardroom. Especially the digital transformation is something which I think in your industry and in any other industry as well, but especially at TÜV Süd, which is a highly, let's say, engineering-driven company, is important. How important is digital literacy at the board and leadership level? So, and how can a board member support to future-proof digital business?
First of all, I think it's part of my job and my 2 board colleagues. So if you don't drive this top down, it's very difficult to get it in the entire area of your company. So, of course, by nature, people before they are in senior positions gained a little bit of age, and so this technology openness and also the openness to listen to people that are maybe half your age but have in this field a completely different mindset is really vital. And so we have the luxury of hiring 4,500 people every year, and that of course brings in a lot of young and fresh blood that has requirements. They come from universities and they don't want to step back in time in the way they work, and that gives a lot of pressure from the workforce in order that there is a modern tool set. At the same time, technology is developing. If you look back 10 years, everything around AI was somewhere a niche area. And now it's available. It can be made use of fairly easy. And so to think about bringing these tools into your daily processes is something that you need to make money available for. And you also need to make sure that people think broader than just on their desk or in their direct environment. And that is something that needs to come from the top, because the colleagues that are dealing with the customers, they have, of course, also other things in mind. They need to serve the customer. There is quality, time pressure. All these things are there. And so we, in the board, we have one separate department founded middle of last year that is dealing only with these topics and is looking for processes across the entire company that we can use, especially AI and also other areas with a lot of the document and accreditation topics that we are dealing with, in order to make sure that the entire company, not only one country, but the entire company is benefiting from these developments. It takes time, of course, if in a big company to replace IT systems, to implement new ways of working, takes a certain time, but it needs to be driven from the top. Otherwise, it's far too slow compared to the technological development that is taking place out there.
So looking at the complexities you have to deal with, would you say that also compared with how you were used to go into strategy processes, probably even in your former job with Lufthansa Technik, that the whole strategy process itself has somehow changed? I'm just words like scenario planning and these things. You have to cope with many changing geopolitical. In the beginning, you said this keeps you awake at night, geopolitical risks. Is there a shift in the strategy process which you can comment on?
Yeah, of course, there are more scenarios that you are thinking about, but what, at least speaking for myself, the Corona time was in the aviation industry really a challenge. The business model of TÜV Süd was much more resilient if you compare that. But I think now we have a lot of managers that are out there that have gone through these real crises where things really changed a lot, and that, from my perspective, generated more openness in thinking of drastic scenarios, because you experience this can happen, and at the same time also be a little bit more relaxed about things that you can't change. You set up a plan, and then it's possible to act on it to a certain degree, and the rest you need to take care of when it happens, because it's unpredictable. And I think this openness and also a little bit fearless approach to it has become more part of the strategy, where in former days, no, we don't think of that, we don't think of that. It could confuse people in the supervisory board or in publicly noted companies to the outside. And now to address it is much more a state of the art, and I think that makes it also easier to tackle the risk profiles that come out of it. And from my perspective, a lot of companies have to develop to a much more resilient setup, because they have things in place for certain tasks that could happen, which they avoided to think about in former days. So I think it's never waste a good crisis. That is one of the good outcomes of people having experienced crisis.
Talking of strategy, scenario plannings, we are now coming to the last question, Johannes. So first of all, thank you very much. I think this is extremely insightful for us. But if you look at the next generation of leaders, what skills and capabilities would you expect business leaders generally need to develop to lead their organization successfully in the future?
The cross-functional and wide thinking in terms of geopolitical topics, but also technological eruptions and surprises that can happen. This openness on technology is a very important area, at least for the segment I'm dealing with. And this is something that is vital for a lot of companies. Actually, more or less nobody is safe in terms of, I have a business model that will never be challenged for the next 30 years. I think that's extremely unlikely, but to have people that are aware of this, and that so in this top leadership role, always on their toes in order to look around, not in the sense of getting nervous, but being open and watching it and checking on these items. That's something that is important for at least the top leadership role. So otherwise, most likely you are missing out on something. And at the same time, I think leadership in the more or less traditional sense of the meaning is becoming more and more important again, because due to this broad variety of possibilities, of scenarios, of things that are happening, people are also looking up to leaders in order to give guidance, some security, some calming them down, that these are the things that might change, these are the things that might stay there as they are. And this guidance, I think, is requested from leaders. And that's why to be vocal about it and also to take care of people in that sense is very important. And this is something that you need to listen to a lot to your employees. So we do a lot of these surveys, of course, and then we adjust what is moving them around at the moment, and then what is our opinion on this in the management team, and then speak about this thing. I think that is different from what it was in the last 10, 15 years, but people are requiring some guidance or asking for guidance in this opinion. Even though if they disagree, they want to know that you as a leader have an opinion on it and speak about it. And that gives orientation. And I think that's important for at least the top roles.
Thank you very much. I think one can see from your last remarks that you are in a real people business. You're not selling any devices. You're selling the brains of your employees and the technical expertise. So I think these were extremely valuable insights. Thank you very much, Johannes, for that. And we wish you and TÜV Süd continued success as you lead the way forward. Thanks and have a great day.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. Thank you. Bye-bye.